Welcome to Stories for Wonderful Children. I'm Dan Wendelin, your host and storyteller. Years ago, I began recording the bedtime stories I told my children every night. Now, we would like to share those stories with you. I hope you enjoy my Stories for Wonderful Children.
There's a little girl named Winella, and she lives in a very special house, full of many special rooms. But the most special room of all is Winella's room, because everything in it is pink and blue, except for one thing. Do you know what that is, Rebecca?
Ceiling fan.
You're right. And do you know what color the ceiling fan is, Diana?
Purple.
Yep. Well, you know that. But what you may not
Why
know
are we talking
is the
quiet?
story. It's time for sleep, and so we talk quietly.
Oh.
What you may not know is why Winella's ceiling fan is purple. Back when Winella's house was first being built, Winella was a much littler girl. She was only 3 years old. And when it came time to do her room, her mommy and daddy asked her what colors she wanted to paint her room. And they had all the cans of paint lined up for her to pick from. And she picked the pink paint and the blue paint. And her mommy started painting the ceiling blue. And her daddy started painting the walls pink. And they gave Winella a little paintbrush. And she got to paint the trim of the room blue. And she got to paint the door pink and the trim around the door blue. And just then, Winella's little brother woke up from his nap and started crying, and so her mommy had to go nurse him. And then the doorbell rang, and her daddy went and answered the door, and he said, "Oh, good." He said, "Hey, Winella, come see." And it was the delivery man, and he was delivering the ceiling fan for her room. And her daddy carried it upstairs, and he started to unpack it, and he got it all out of the box. And he said, "Oh, it hasn't been painted yet. We'll have to paint it." He said, "Oh, right now it's time for me to go make some lunch for everybody." He said, "Okay, well, you enjoy your room, Winella." And he left. But he was in such a hurry that he forgot to close the paint cans. And Winella was curious. She was curious what would happen if she took the pink paint and the blue paint and mixed them together. So she laid out a sort of a paint dish on the floor, and she poured some pink paint in from one can, and she poured some blue paint in from the other can, and then she took her little paintbrush and she began to mix them together. And they mix, and she mixed them together. And as she mixed the two colors together, they became a bright, bright purple color. Ooh, she thought, I really like this color. And she looked at the ceiling fan. She thought, this would be a good color for the ceiling fan. And so she took a little paintbrush and she painted that whole ceiling fan purple. Well, her daddy was very surprised when she came back up. He said, "Winella, you're not supposed to paint without us." And she said, "I'm sorry, Daddy." She said, "But isn't it a beautiful purple color? I like my new ceiling fan." And her daddy sort of looked at her for a minute, and he looked at the ceiling fan and he said, "Well, it is your room." "Yes, Winella, it's a lovely purple color." He said, "Would you like to help me put it up now?" And she said, "Yes." And so he went down in the basement to look for a ladder, but the ladder was not there because it was still packed away in a moving box. So, instead, he got Sarah Mae Figment, who had been busy painting her own room purple, but was having trouble finding just the right color purple. She had sort of a whole bunch of little paint swatches, and she was holding up the walls to her room and thinking, no, that's a little too lavender. No, that's a little too blue. No, that's a little too pink. And she had gone through all these purple colors when Winella's daddy came down and said, "I've got to put this ceiling fan up in Winella's room, and my ladder's still packed away. Would you mind coming up to Winella's room so I can stand on your back and put the ceiling fan up?" And Sarah Mae Figment said, "Sure." So she went up to Winella's room and she walked in and she said, What? What? Winella and her daddy said. Sarah Mae Figment said, that is the most beautiful purple color. Where did you find that purple color for that ceiling fan? And Winella said, I mixed it up myself. And she showed her how she would mix some of the pink paint and some of the blue paint to get the purple color. And Sarah Mae Figment said, oh, can we mix some of that for my room? And she looked at Winella's daddy and he shrugged and said, okay. And so then Sarah Mae Figment stood underneath the spot on the ceiling where the ceiling fan went, and Winella and her daddy both climbed up her back. And when they were standing on her back, they were very close to the ceiling, and Winella's daddy held the fan up and put the screws in one at a time that held it up to the ceiling, while Winella held on to the screws and handed them to him one at a time. And then they went, and Winella's daddy carried the paint cans and the paint dish down to Sarah Mae Figment's room, and then Winella mixed up another batch of her special purple color from just the right amount of pink paint and just the right amount of blue paint, and then taking her little paintbrush and just swishing, and Sarah Mae Figment said, ooh, that's perfect. And then Winella's daddy said, okay, Winella, now it's time to come upstairs for lunch. Maybe you can come help Sarah Mae paint her room afterwards. And Sarah Mae said that she was going to go ahead and get started painting while they had lunch. So Winella and her daddy went upstairs to have lunch with her mommy and her little baby brother Wally. And that is the story about why the ceiling fan in Winella's room is purple.
Thanks for listening to Stories for Wonderful Children. I created today's story, but questions and witty commentary were supplied by my children. The music was created by Brandon Thompson. If you enjoy the show, please tell someone about it or leave a review on your podcast provider. Our website is storiesforwonderfulchildren.com, and you can also find us on most social media. I'm Dan Wendelin, reminding you to tell someone you love a story.